Monday morning. Happy Monday. Okay, so look, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad, but the more you look into this claim that a new world order is being developed, the more you trace roots, you understand philosophies, teachings, schools of thought, and of course, the stars seemingly align. And again, look on the back of your dollar bill, your Federal Reserve note. It's written in plain sight. So, what we know is that there is a system that controls the Earth. Okay, we revolve around the sun. There's stars. There's a moon. Other planets. Okay, this system, whether you believe in coincidence or not, I believe there is no coincidence. You can read religious texts, the Bible, Quran, Kabbalah, to try to understand and interpret the system that we all live in. Okay, you can choose to abide by teachings of prophets and that of Jesus Christ. It's totally up into the individual. We all have our own independence and free will and liberty to make our own decisions. What's happening now in the world is a clear reshuffling or balancing, if you will, of the economic system. There's no doubt. There's countries like Greece that are going into grave economic disastrous straits. We're right in line in the U.S. Throwing out some names for you to read into and study. Adam Weishaupt, obviously understand his connection and association to George Washington. Understand what Lord Mayor is of the city in London. That's their financial center. Understand Albert Pike. Okay. Understand Woodrow Wilson, 1913, signing of the Federal Reserve Act, and continuously talk about this. Understand Benito Juarez in Mexico, and understand. Try to understand their system there. Understand why the northern Mexican states that they inherited from the Spanish as they revolted and overthrew the Spanish. I'm speaking of Texas, Arizona, California. Those were republics. Understand why they left the Mexican Union. We are in a dire strait here in the United States. We as a people have relied and put our reliance, if you will, in a Federal Reserve. Okay, good or bad, that's open up to your personal interpretation. What I've been taught, it's probably bad. You are only worth what you can produce. All right, fine. So you're a member. I'm going to post some slides, if you will, of the Romans and how their empire fell. We're going the same route. We're going the exact same route. The Greeks, same thing. Power corrupts man, and wealth corrupts man. If you do not understand history and you do not understand how these people have failed in the past, then there's no way we can prepare to change a course of the future. Okay, the dollar has plummeted. It's on a spiral. It's worth nothing, basically. It's not worth anything. The only thing it's basically worth is the might of the military and the GDP, obviously. But the problem is, you might say America is strong. You may have voted for Trump. You may have voted for Hillary. Whatever reason you voted for either one of those candidates, because you believed in their message, and you believed that the country would be more united and work harder and would be more productive. Well, the problem is, regardless of the candidate, we're in a huge amount of debt. Trillions of dollars of debt. What is it, 13 trillion? Have I got that number right? $13 trillion of debt, is that correct? Under the Obama administration, he's doubled the threat. He's doubled the debt. What has he done? He's spent mindlessly out of control. Has he fed into this order, this world order? Now, having a world order, I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, but what I'm saying is the elements of the document that people praise the United States for their different freedoms, freedom of religion, freedom of media, freedom of press, freedom of speech, these different freedoms, are these being taken from us? Are these being taken? If that is a standard, if that was, let's say, the gold standard in 1776, or what was it, 1787 that it was written, if that was the gold standard for the world to follow, why does it seem now that that's being trashed? Why does it seem now that it's being walked over and it's being adjusted? Where's the adjustment that needs to be taken? Every man created equal. Okay, so the dollar has, from what I'm seeing, has deliberately been totally devalued and rooted to the Federal Reserve, which seems to be unconstitutional. So it's just like an illegal immigrant. I don't think anyone minds immigration. We're all immigrants to some manner or the other. We share the world. It's all our own world. The government set up borders and rules, and it's up to us to abide by them. So, but rules are set, just like the house that you grew up in with your mother making rules of your house. You had to abide those rules. My guess is that if you broke her rule, you would be punished. So, just like an illegal immigrant, there are also certain financial laws and rules that need to be adhered to. The Federal Reserve is not a law written that abides by the system that the Founding Fathers set up. That being, let's say, Alexander Hamilton, for example. So, know that the Roman Empire got into the same problems. It fell for the same reasons. Corrupted power and unabling to basically unite and feed its people properly. If you want a population, if you want a successful government, which we've seen, a successful country, which we've seen the past 250 years, and we're on the fringe of this collapsing unless things change. If you want to see a successful government, you have to build its people. So that's where this whole struggle is taking place, because that's where the whole socialist viewpoint is. Okay, well, let's have the government feed the people and build the people, free healthcare, free jobs, free housing, right? But that doesn't make a person develop into their God-given, develop their God-given talents. If we're just going to feed these people, if a homeless man chooses to be homeless, he's got to figure out some way to create. He's got to create an economy. He's got to shine shoes. He's got to cut grass. He's got to pick up trash. He's got to do something to contribute to society. If he chooses to be homeless and stands on the corner with his hand out, he's not doing anything, right? He's wasting your time. He's wasting my time. Therefore, a government must educate. There's different ways to do this, but the government must build up its citizens from within to have a productive country. There are some real issues happening here in this country that need to be changed. And if you ask me, a Federal Reserve is only a good thing if it gets audited, if it plays by the same rules that everyone else plays by. If it doesn't get audited and it doesn't allow you to elect its chairman, then I see an issue with that. I see that being dictatorial, tyrannical. Therefore, it makes it not part of the government. Okay, so how do I tie this all into aerial spraying? Right, because that's what I'm trying to get the message out. Is that I found no research, and I've looked through medical journals from the UK, from the US. I've contacted physicians, Georgetown, Washington University, St. Louis. I've contacted a number of people. I found no science that directly correlates and relates Zika as to causing microcephaly. That was my concern, right? Okay, you get a pregnant woman, there's no reason she should, we've got to protect the future of, right, our posterity. So I found no science that directly links Zika to microcephaly. However, I have found science that links, and I'm in Miami, Dibrom, which was sprayed over us, to causing microcephaly in guinea pigs. Furthermore, at StopSpraying.org, the site that I'm supporting, there are a far less toxic pesticide that caused shrinkage in head circumference of infants. Okay, so pesticides and insecticides are causing these diseases, yet we're being told by, for instance, the CDC that Zika is causing these things. However, the EU, the European Union, has completely outlawed this. So why has it gotten sprayed? So I followed the trail. Oh, who owns the companies? Who's owning the airplanes, right? And they've all kind of led me back to government sources. And the government, therefore, from what I've been able to see, is basically not serving the people. It's serving the hand that feeds it. And what's the hand that feeds it? The Federal Reserve. So who's the Federal Reserve? What I've come to are international bankers. Okay, now it's all great. We all should be living together happy, right? I'm not for violence. I'm not for divisions. I'm all for integration. I'm all for peace and happiness around the world. We can all walk around, visit new lands and eat new foods, and that's the beauty of the human being. Okay, so I'm all for order, and I'm all for world unity. But wait a second. If I'm getting sprayed by a toxic chemical that is known to cause microcephaly, and on the other hand, there's no science that shows the Zika directly causes microcephaly, I've got a problem with that. Okay, so I've got a problem if I'm being misleaded, or if I'm not being told accuracies or truths. Okay, that's where I have a problem. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm standing up and trying to educate and help people understand that you need to start looking into these things. You need to start looking into the purposeful devaluation of your dollar. You need to understand that there's seemingly no gold in the U.S. Treasury, and the Federal Reserve, on the other hand, says they don't have any gold. Okay, so who's got the gold? Who's got the silver? What's your country worth? Okay, what are you worth? How does the government view you? There's certain these other these questions that need to be answered, and you need to look at your history. We need to look at our history. Look at the Romans. Look at what happened with the Romans. Okay, look at how their currency became devalued. Look at the tyrannical rule that started to rule them, which drove their empire apart. Okay, was Castro was he successful in Cuba? Was he successful in Cuba? Absolutely not. The world, well, apart from the Russians, alienated him, seemingly. Okay, it's a system that doesn't work. Has it worked for the Russians? Communism is what I'm talking. Tyrannical? No, it hasn't worked. Okay. What has worked is the document that was spawned by the Declaration of Independence in 1776. That is what has worked. Okay, so the question I have for you is the financial system that is today supporting that, is that working? Or is it trampling on your Constitution and taking those rights away. Okay? There's the only questions that I have. They're just things to look at, things to understand. I don't think anybody is opposed to a non-violent life. I don't think anybody is opposed to not having wars. But are wars purposely being created to balance a shift in certain powers? Absolutely, they have in the past, and they will in the future, and they have since the beginning of mankind. So, if you can understand the system, you can prepare and try to change and create a better life for your posterity. Have a great Monday. Do something good for somebody.